Seneca. His Stoic philosophy and independence of thought. Seneca, one of the leading exponents of the Roman Stoic thought, is known for his practical and eclectic approach to philosophy. Although he shared the fundamental principles of Stoicism, such as the importance of virtue, reason and self-control, Seneca does not limit himself to repeating the teaching of his predecessors. He stands out for his independence of thought, seeking to integrate ideas from other philosophical schools, such as Platonism and Epicureanism, into his own vision. The Stoic influence on Seneca. To understand Seneca, it is essential to understand Stoicism, which is a philosophical system that values reason, virtue and acceptance of fate. The Stoics believed that the universe is governed by a rational order and that human beings should live harmony with this order. Virtue, for the Stoics, consists of living according to reason and controlling the passions, which are considered obstacles to happiness. Seneca, like other Greek philosophers, saw philosophy as a path to wisdom and happiness. His writings, marked by unmistakable literary beauty and depth of thought, continue to inspire and guide readers to this day. With ethics at the forefront, Seneca demonstrated a deep interest in ethics, dedicating himself to the analysis of practical issues related to human conduct. Seneca did not limit himself to theorizing about ethics, but saw it as a practice to be exercised and improved. His teaching invites us to reflect on our values, our actions and our emotions, seeking self-control and self-knowledge. His philosophy, although recognizing the importance of logic, language, epistemology and ontology, focuses on the search for a virtuous and happy life. The philosopher had a unique style of communication. His writings, often directed to an interlocutor, focused on a situation of distress or tranquility. He adopted a personal and engaging tone. He presents himself as a therapist of the Roman lineage or of the Roman soul, seeking to diagnose the illnesses that afflicted people and his readers, offering them advice and reflections to achieve a cure. His writing, rich in analogies, invite readers to recognize themselves in the situations described and to actively engage in the search for solutions. An interesting point in Seneca is the apparent lack of interest in the figure of the ideal sage. So present in the perfect sage, Seneca turns his attention to the proficiens, the individual who strives to progress morally towards wisdom. This change of focus does not mean that Seneca has abandoned the ideal of wisdom. He recognizes the difficulty of achieving moral perfection, valuing the continuous effort towards this goal. The proficiens represents the individual who seeks to improvise himself, who learns from his mistakes and who dedicates himself to the practice virtue. The complex relationship between the Roman imperial system and the philosophical perspective of Seneca, a prominent Stoic thinker and member of the senatorial aristocracy during a transformation period Roman history. It delves into Seneca's ambivalence towards the consolidation of imperial power, his views on governance, and his tumultuous relationship with Emperor Nero. Additionally, it examines the use of republican ideals in imperial propaganda and the search for legitimacy in the context of the evolving political landscape of Rome. The consolidation of imperial power. Seneca lived during a time when the Roman Republic's institution and values were being systematically dismantled, giving way to the rise of the imperial system. The emperor emerged as the central figure in Roman politics, wielding almost absolute power. As an intellectual and member of the senatorial elite, Seneca was acutely aware of these political transformations and their implications for governance and society. Seneca's ambiguous position. Seneca's position regarding the imperial system was marked by a notable ambiguity. On one hand, he recognized the necessity of a strong central authority to maintain order within the vast Roman Empire. On the other hand, he championed the importance of freedom and individual autonomy, which he deemed essential for the attainment of virtue and wisdom. This duality in his thought reflects the tension between the realities of political power and the ideals of Stoic philosophy. Stoicism and political philosophy. The influence of Stoicism was pivotal in shaping Seneca's political vision. As a Stoic, he advocated for reason and virtue in governance, believing that the ideal ruler should act in accordance with rational principles and prioritize the common good. However, Seneca was also acutely aware that not all rulers embodied these virtues, and he recognized the potential for power to be misused. This understanding informed his views on the nature of authority and the responsibilities of leadership. Seneca's relationship with Nero. Seneca's relationship with Emperor Nero serves as a poignant illustration of the conflict between idealism and reality in Roman politics. Initially, Seneca was appointed as Nero's tutor and later became his advisor, striving to instill Stoic principles in the young emperor. He encouraged Nero to govern with justice and wisdom, hoping to guide him towards virtuous rule. However, as Nero's character revealed himself to be fickle and authoritarian, Seneca's influence waned. Ultimately, their relationship deteriorated, culminating in Seneca's accusation of conspiracy and subsequent execution. Imperial propaganda and republican ideals. Despite the establishment of the Principate, the Roman Empire continually sought references to its republican past to legitimize imperial power. The notion of a mixed government, incorporating monarchical, aristocratic, and democratic elements, was skillfully employed to buttress the authority of the prince. Figures from the Republican era, such as Augustus, were invoked as models of ideal rulership, reinforcing the narrative that the imperial system was a continuation of Rome's storied political heritage. I will now focus on the role of Stoicism as one of the ideological strands that fueled resistance to imperial power and the search for reference in the Republican past. Stoicism became a philosophy of resistance and compromise, a philosophy of great influence in Rome, and took on two distinct strands in the context of the empire. Resistance fueled opposition to imperial power, defending individual freedom and the importance of the virtue as a guide for political action commitment, to the point of justifying collaboration with imperial power, seeking to influence the prince and defend republican values within the imperial system. This double-faced Stoicism reflects the complexity of the Roman political context and the search for different ways of dealing with imperial power. The Stoic doctrine of freedom lies in the conscious acceptance of the natural and rational order of the universe. The Stoic believes that human beings are free when they act in accordance with reason and virtue, and not when they seek pleasures and material goods. This view of freedom has important implications. The Stoic, by valuing virtue above all else, does not bow before imperial power unless it is exercised in a just and virtuous manner. At the same time, the Stoic recognizes the need for centralized power to ensure order and stability in the empire. Seneca, one of the main exponents of Roman Stoicism, represents an example of how this philosophy could be used to defend freedom and justice in the context of the empire. His writings reflect the tension between collaboration and resistance, seeking a balance between the power of the prince and the freedom of the senatorial elite. However, he did not limit himself to theory. He also worked in politics as Nero's tutor, seeking to influence the emperor and defend Stoic values in practice. His trajectory of successes and failures illustrates the complexity of the role of the intellectual and the philosopher in Roman politics. The political problem for Seneca was transformed into a moral issue. He believed that the prince should be a wise man, a virtuous man who will be guided by reason and justice. The ideal emperor, therefore, was one who possessed the Stoic virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance.